This is Battle Abbey, dating back to the famous 1066 Battle of Hastings and death of King Harold. And in this documentary, we will be uncovering some of the history behind Battle Abbey and how it connects to the famous Battle of 1066. The town of Battle, named after the historical Battle of Hastings, one of the most infamous conflicts to have taken place on English soil, this small market town grew up alongside the battleground, the tranquil medieval abbey and surrounding ancient woodlands, which still remained unchanged to this day. The Romans were settled nearby before Battle even existed. In the period 100 AD to 200 AD, there was a major Roman ironworks at Beauport Park, about 2 miles southeast of the town. Sadly, nothing can be seen today, except some fascinating artifacts left in the Battle Museum. But the iron making here was on such a scale that it provided the Roman Empire with about half of its needs. Battle was established because of the abbey. The first townspeople were the craftsmen and labourers, who helped remove the hill to build the abbey and support the monks.
One of the best and most unique things about Battle and Battle Abbey is that all that you see here today is a result of a pledge that maybe William had or made after the battle to instate an abbey here, and with the abbey and the church being built here meant that the town had to grow around it in order to support that abbey. So we have the town of Battle exclusively because of the Battle of Hastings being fought here.
The site of the Battle of Hastings is one of the least altered of medieval battlefields. Just over 950 years ago, these two armies met on October 14th, 1066, and fought for the control of England. The battle lasted for a day, till the French defeated the English by nightfall. As we walk through the meandering woodland to the field where William the Conqueror led his troops to face the Anglo-Saxon army of King Harold. The English, protected by their shield wall, withstood repeated and bloody assaults up the hillside by the Norman cavalry and archers. Gradually, the Normans gained the upper hand until the last attack, Harold was killed. Leaderless, the English finally gave way and fled. William assumed the throne of England, was crowned on Christmas Day 1066 and ruled until his death in 1087. The ridge of the site was held by the Saxon army, with Norman forces attacking from the south. With perhaps 14,000 soldiers involved, fighting is likely to have spread along the ridge of the grounds.
It's difficult to imagine how many soldiers died, and I've never seen actually any clear indication of the numbers, but it would have been in their thousands. They believed that 7,000 men on each side was a likely approximation of the battle numbers. And we know that many Saxons were killed because they needed to be at least all the nobles that might have risen up afterwards, so they needed to be killed. But the tactics really were such that you have a Saxon shield wall that has to be broken. William knows this, and he has archers, he has heavy infantry, and he has cavalry. And the only way that he feels he can beat the Saxons is by weakening that shield wall, initially by arrows and then hitting it with the heavy infantry and the cavalry, trying to kill as many. But the shield wall holds for many hours, and it's not until there's a breakdown in discipline within some of the Saxon shield wall that some of the Saxons pursue seemingly retreating Normans, and then drawn out of the shield wall can be killed easily because they're standing. And this is said to have happened On 2 or maybe 3 occasions, rumours went up that William had been killed, and that was why initially the Bretons made a hasty retreat, thinking that their battle had been lost. The Saxons pursued them, or some of the Saxons did, and that's when the cavalry came in and annihilated them. They think that happened a couple more times, but generally the shield wall of the Saxons was broken down, and then gaps started to appear, and that's when they believe that a sort of a hit squad infiltrated the Saxon shield wall and managed to get to Harold and kill him. And that was really the end for the Saxons, because the resistance crumbled and they retreated back into the High Weald, and that was it, game over.
We will now turn to Battle Abbey, the landmark which made the battle so well known. Placed on Senlac Hill, which is now the location of Battle Abbey, or Abbey of St. Martin, which was erected by William the Conqueror. He had vowed to build a monument in the event that he won the battle. The Pope had ordered that it be built as a penance for the loss of life. The building of the abbey took place between 1070 and 1094. The abbey takes its name from the town and was founded to commemorate the bloody battle that saw William the Conqueror have control of England in 1066. Most of the abbey buildings were reconstructed in the 13th century, and after the closure of the abbey in 1538, the majority of the abbey was demolished or gradually became ruinous from neglect. However, a number of important buildings still survive. Until 1538, the abbey played an important role in spiritual and economic life of the community in the area. The gatehouse, constructed in 1338, remains dominant to the town with its heavy and defensive look to whoever may enter it. The gatehouse's defence features would have been of little practical use, and the building would not have been able to sustain a serious assault. Inside the gatehouse today lies the Gatehouse Expedition, with displays of ancient artefacts, many of them found in the grounds of Battle Abbey. As you walk up the spiral staircase, you will reach the rooftop, where you will be able to see the breathtaking view of the Upper Lake and St. Mary's Church.
Well, certainly Battle Abbey was never attacked again, but nonetheless they had a gatehouse in order to protect the monks that were here from people wandering in from the town, as it were. It allowed them to be sort of, whether they had authority to come and visit the abbey. It was in the 100 Years' War in about 1350 that they were granted authority to build a precinct wall, which was there to protect Battle Abbey if the French ever came this far inland, because there were raids going on all the time by the French during the 100 Years' War. So yes, the gatehouse was there to some extent to protect Battle Abbey.
The Battle Abbey complex comprised of several buildings and outhouses. One of the few buildings that survived the suppression of 1538 was Abbott's house. The Abbott's Great Hall, which mostly survived Henry VIII's attempts at destruction in 1538. Abbott's house is now part of Battle Abbey School. However, the exterior of the hall is impressive, with some beautiful detail.
Right, so he was distributing a lot of the monasteries and abbeys in the land, and he gave Battle Abbey to Sir Anthony Browne. He had been a very close friend and associate of Henry VIII, and so this was probably seen as a bit of a reward, so it was Sir Anthony Browne.
After the suppression and the monks of Battle surrendering, in 1538 King Henry handed the seized abbey and land to his close friend Sir Anthony Browne. The abbey and outhouses were demolished, leaving Abbott's house, which was subsequently converted into a country estate.
now the abbot's house. Yeah, initially the abbot lived with the monks in probably very rudimentary houses while they were building the church. But he quickly got tired of having to do this, and so he saw to it that a proper house was built for him. And also he wanted to entertain guests, and so he had a guest range built. But this is all happening quite later on in the 13th century, particularly in the 14th centuries. But it was done very much because the abbot wanted to live in a better style, shall we say, than the general monks of the abbey.
Although parts of the abbey, including the church, were destroyed in 1538 during the dissolution of the monasteries, the dormitory rooftop gives you an overview of how Battle Abbey would have been originally laid out. If you look from up here, you'll be able to see the layout of which used to be the buildings of the abbey, as well as the crypt layout where King Harold fell. One of the most well-preserved rooms below the dormitory in the East Range, which gives the impression of the quality of all the buildings at Battle Abbey before they were ruined. This would have been the monks' common room.
Well, the dormitory was merely the sleeping quarters for the monks that were here, and it was built, they probably built the church first, and that would have been their primary objective when they started to build the abbey. But the dormitory would have followed quite quickly. I mean, the thing to remember is that the abbey grew over a course of many centuries, but the dormitory would have been built on, during that general progress for the comfort and sleeping of the arrangements for the monks. Yes.
In 1858, Battle Abbey was home to the Duchess of Cleveland, where the abbey was converted to a country estate. The walled gardens was her favourite part of the estate. The walled gardens have been lovingly restored by English Heritage, with around 16 varieties of apples, and some originating as early from 1665.
English Heritage would probably say they own it, but I mean, technically I guess it belongs to the country, the UK as a whole. But to all intents and purposes, English Heritage own the site and manage it all in one, absolutely, yes.
And that is all we have time for. After discovering the past, Battle Abbey is now a thriving historical tourist destination, putting the town of Battle on the map, and now managed by English Heritage. So next time you are around East Sussex, make sure you come by and visit Battle Abbey.